Welcome back. Today we bring you another inspiring tale. Without further delay, let's dive right in. There was once a firm that promised to change the shape of investing in emerging markets forever. It rose faster than anyone could keep track of, dazzled the world's biggest philanthropists, governments, and investors, and controlled billions spanning continents. But then, suddenly and dramatically, it collapsed, leaving behind unanswered questions, ruined reputations, and empty promises. The story of Abraaj is not simply about money, it is about ambition, deception, and the price of dreaming too big. The tale begins in 2002 with a man named Arif Naqvi, a Pakistani businessman armed with just $3 million and an audacious vision. While others were still chasing profits in Wall Street giants or sticking with safe bets, Naqvi wanted to channel private equity into the world's most unexplored spaces, the growth markets of Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East. He believed that if investors bet on places overlooked by traditional finance, the rewards would be unmatched. And in the beginning, he was right. Abraaj grew with breathtaking speed. By 2015, Naqvi's firm was not just a regional success, it was global. In April that year, Abraaj closed a $1 billion fund for sub-Saharan Africa, the largest of its kind at the time. Later that same year, it raised another $375 million for North Africa. Setting records became routine. Investors began pouring in money at rates Abraaj itself could hardly believe. Not long after, Naqvi's gaze shifted toward Turkey, a country bridging East and West, a market rich with opportunity, but riddled with challenges. Abraaj raised $526 million in 2016 for Turkey through the Abraaj Turkey Fund, marking another jewel in its crown. But the jewel Abraaj flaunted most proudly was the Abraaj Growth Markets Health Fund, AGHF, a staggering $1 billion pool of capital launched to revolutionize healthcare across sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. The fund won backing from the likes of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, development finance institutions, and influential global investors. To many, Abraaj wasn't just making profits, it was building a new world. For a while, the strategy worked. Abraaj made over 200 investments across continents. It backed K Electric in Pakistan, Hepsiburada in Turkey, Big Basket in India, and Java House in Kenya. It invested in logistics giants like Netlog, restaurant empires like Acurio in Peru, education leaders like VUS in Vietnam, and even healthcare platforms such as ODM in Morocco. Abraaj was everywhere: private equity, private credit, impact investing, real estate. No corner seemed untouched. Naqvi was now celebrated. He spoke the language of impact and sustainability, portraying investment not just as profit-driven, but also as a moral mission. Abraaj became a symbol of change, blending capitalism with conscience. But beneath this glittering success, cracks had already begun to show. Success breeds scrutiny, and Abraaj had spread itself astonishingly thin. Its core model relied heavily on trust. Trust that Naqvi and his team were deploying funds honestly and transparently. By 2018, that trust began to unravel. It started with whispers from investors who noticed something odd in the healthcare fund's accounts. The Gates Foundation and other major limited partners launched audits. What they found sent shockwaves. Investor money wasn't exactly where it was supposed to be. Instead of supporting hospitals and diagnostic centers, funds appeared to have been diverted, used for unrelated corporate expenses and perhaps to plug holes in Abraaj's overextended empire. This revelation crushed the firm's credibility. The very investors who had once viewed Abraaj as a torchbearer of ethical finance now doubted its every move. Soon after, Abraaj's CFO and CEO resigned, signaling deeper turmoil. The fall. By early 2019, the numbers were brutal. Abraaj reported a $188 million loss and $1.1 billion in outstanding debts. Creditors, both secured and unsecured, lined up demanding answers. Courts and regulators from Dubai to New York tightened their grip. One Abraaj director was arrested in April 2019, only escalating the panic. Within months, Abraaj was no longer a giant, but a carcass to be divided. Its assets were carved up by rivals. Colony Capital snapped up its Latin America business. Actis claimed funds across the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. TPG Capital's Rise Fund took over the treasured healthcare portfolio. Just like that, the empire dissolved. Yet even in its undoing, the depth of Abraaj's portfolio stunned the world. Consider just a few of its high-profile ventures. Electric, the backbone of Karachi's power grid. Acurio, the famed Peruvian restaurant group. Hepsiburada, Turkey's e-commerce titan. Big Basket, India's go-to online grocery. Yendis Netlog, a logistics leader in Turkey. Java House, a household dining name in East Africa. Indorama Fertilizers, a fertilizer powerhouse in sub-Saharan Africa. In sectors ranging from education to healthcare, from food to energy, Abraaj had laid deep footprints. Some of these investments continued thriving, only now under new ownership. Impact investing was Abraaj's crown jewel, at least in narrative. Through its $1 billion healthcare fund, it had partnered with hospitals like Care Hospitals in India and diagnostic centers in Pakistan, while also working with the Red Cross in Kenya to expand community healthcare. Its energy ventures were equally ambitious, investing alongside Engie to create wind projects in India, backing a 50 MW Himper wind project in Pakistan, and collaborating with the Aditya Birla Group to build large-scale solar platforms in India. Altogether, Abraaj poured over $1 billion into clean energy, branding itself as an architect of a sustainable future. Beyond finance, it cultivated a reputation for social responsibility, became a signatory to the UN Global Compact in 2012, launched the Abraaj RCA Innovation Scholarship at the Royal College of Art in London, funded the celebrated Abraaj Group Art Prize, supporting underserved contemporary artists, created the Abraaj Growth Markets Grant, empowering grassroots innovation in everything from prosthetics in India to crime tracking in Mexico. Abraaj, for all its flaws, seemed determined to leave fingerprints on the softer side of society too, the legal storm. But as liquidation took place, the storm around Arif Naqvi grew darker. April 2019, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, charged Naqvi with misappropriating $230 million from the healthcare fund. He was arrested in London. July 2019, Dubai regulators imposed a record fine of $314.6 million on Abraaj for deceiving investors. August 2019, a UAE court sentenced Naqvi to 3 years in absentia, following a lawsuit linked with Air Arabia PJSC, where he once served as a director. Meanwhile, senior employee Sev Vedavipalai pleaded guilty to financial crimes. The reckoning stretched across years. In 2021, UK courts cleared the path for Naqvi's extradition to the US. The Dubai regulators also fined Abraaj's former CFO Ashish Dave $1.7 million. By 2022, the financial fallout hit harder. Naqvi received a fine of $135.6 million, while COO Waqar Siddiqui was penalized $1.2 million before later negotiating a settlement. Finally, in 2023, Arif Naqvi lost his last appeal against extradition to the US. His long-promised American trial loomed. With Abraaj's collapse, global investors reel back, suddenly wary of the risks in private equity's rush into frontier markets. Funds were taken over by more seasoned rivals, but the aura left behind was unmistakable. A cautionary tale. The lessons resonated deeply. Transparency is not optional. Governance cannot be afterthought. And unchecked ambition, no matter how noble its presentation, can burn everything to the ground. Yet even now, years since its fall in 2019, Abraaj's dual personality haunts conversations in finance. Was it a visionary institution that aimed too high, or simply a fraud with beautiful decoration? Perhaps it was both. A company where good intentions and reckless ambition collided until their weight toppled the empire. The Abraaj story is more than the downfall of a private equity firm. It is a gripping testimony of what happens when ambition outpaces accountability, when vision blurs into overreach, and when one man's dream can become many investors' nightmare. A giant promised the future, and then vanished into scandal.